Well, let's discuss this further now with diplomatic analyst Idan Ronan in Tel Aviv. Welcome to the programme. It's great to have you with us. Now, as we just heard, the Palestinian president has totally rejected the deal. Does this mean this plan is already finished coming out of the gate?
Well, if you take a look at the Palestinian leadership's decisions, it looks like for the past 100 years, they were always in the business of demolishing the Jewish state, never in the business of creating a Palestinian for their own. And you know something, it's about time to debunk this myth about as if the Palestinians, all they care about is just, you know, freedom and human rights and Palestinian state. You know, they have wasted 8 years of the most pro-Palestinian US president ever, perhaps to be matched only by Jimmy Carter. That is obviously Barack Obama. In 2009, he came into office. Netanyahu, Israeli prime minister, has frozen the settlements. Where has Abbas been all these years up until this day? Where has Abbas been when he was offered the most wonderful proposal in the Annapolis conference in the year 2008, where he literally is given almost 100% of the land? Jerusalem is his, including the Muslim quarter there, and yet he still says no. Why? Because no allowing in of any refugees to destroy Israel from within. And it goes all the way back to the beginning of the 20th century, the San Remo conference in the 1920s, and the plenipotentiary in the UN, plenipotentiary in 1947. Every time, whenever the Palestinians reach into a point where they're given a state of their own, they always reject it, and they come up with first genocide, and then war of attrition, and then intifada, which is suicide bombing war, and cocktail Molotov cocktail sort of campaign. And look where they end up now. With literally nothing. So
okay.
I think the plan was quite dead.
Sorry to interrupt. Coming back to Trump's proposal.
Sure,
one thing I'd like to ask you about. Trump called Jerusalem the undivided capital of Israel, but he also said a Palestinian capital could be established in eastern Jerusalem.
3,000 years.
What would that mean in practice? Would Israel give up any control over the city?
No, it cannot give any... No. Well, first off, let's bring in some context here. Did you know that the word Jerusalem, Al-Quds, in Arabic, never even shows for once in their own holy source, the Quran? The Palestinians only claim land. They want to claim the land as a staging platform to demolish Israel. I can't see it ever happens. It never did happen. It never stands a chance. The Palestinians, Abbas, you know what? Just take a look about how Abbas is rejected by his own Arab comrades. Oman, United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, they have sent their own ambassadors to the conference with Trump. The Gulf states in the region, they basically seem to be getting further and further away from Abbas. In fact, if there's only one Arab country which does stand side by side with the Palestinians, is perhaps Jordan, and even this is kind of partially here. I don't see Israel giving any control to the Palestinians. It only brings on more clashes, it only brings on more potential suicide attacks, and I just never see it happens.
The proposal also calls for recognising Israel's settlements in the West Bank. Now, those are settlements the international community considers illegal. Why should the Palestinians start from that negotiating position?
Well, the international community says a lot of things is illegal, but in fact, if you don't mess up the timeline of history, then allow me please to bring in some context here and tell you that in 1917, Balfour Declaration here, that was when Balfour of the United Kingdom has handed over the Jews from the Mediterranean Sea all the way to the Jordanian-Iraqi border, modern-day Jordanian-Iraqi border, a state of their own. Now, obviously, that is at least only a declaration by principle, but it was ratified by the League of Nations in the year 1922, and when the League of Nations died down, it went on to the UN, and ever since, by international law, the land, what today is considered to be Israel, Gaza, the West Bank, and Jordan, is in fact should be under Jewish sovereignty. Now, you say about present-day actions, about the international community, you know, the international community is only realizing, the more time goes by, that Israel is not the problem which starts the Middle East turmoil here. It is in fact Iran. Abbas always goes hugging and kissing the Iranian ayatollahs. They see that. The international community sees that. They cannot say it out loud just like that. They have their own obligations, say, the European Union, which is totally despised even by the majority of Europeans themselves. A dictatorial, bureaucratic regime. It still has its own obligations to the Muslim world, still has obviously so many Muslim constituents within the European nation states, but the quote-unquote international community gets further and further away from the Palestinian cause. We see it day by day, year by year.
Dan Ronan, diplomatic analyst in Tel Aviv, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on RC. We appreciate it.